There was a kid. Everyone called the kid a girl. The girl had long hair and was always called white. But her dad that she lived with was black, and the dad that made her was from Hidalgo State in Mexico. The kid had never been to Mexico and didn't know anything about her dad except stuff like he'd always say, "Don't tell people straight away who you are, but when you do, you can say proudly, 'I'm Mexican.'" Her black dad wouldn't really tell her anything about what to be proud of like that, but he would say, "You want to watch TV with me?" And they'd watch hours of Nova and PBS science and space programming. And when they got cable, it was hours of sci-fi blockbusters and anime and the NASA control room live stream, always accompanied by his dreamy enthusiasm for space and the unknown. The kid's mom did the heavy lifting. The mom, she doesn't get enough glory in memory. The birth dad thought she was depressed, but the kid never noticed this during all the trips to the library and bedtime storybooks and weekend trips to all the free museum days and public parks. All the public parks have been taken over, though, now for public resources. To use or go do stuff like use the library, you have to have enough data to establish proof of use. Otherwise, it's considered acting out of line trying to do something with only so much relational data to maintain what's called character likelihoods, the likelihood that you'll read the book you'll borrow, for example, based off socioeconomic, psychographic data collected from your day-to-day environmental transactions. The way things are now, the kid would have never been able to go to the library like she did. At the library now, they don't even have public computer kiosks or things like that that you can improve your life with anymore, or anywhere, because everyone's supposed to carry mandatory live IDs now, which can do the same stuff an old computer could, but even more detailed and personal. Live IDs were part of the one-to-one initiative the Public Safety Commission made into law this time last year, tacked on as a requirement to your health insurance policy, like where you'll get penalized on your taxes if you don't get ID'd, if you don't get live. Thinking about it makes the kid a little sick and shaky, so she has to sit down, and she gets stuck thinking about how things used to be. Like when her classmates in Catholic school all would talk about what fractions European descent they were, the kid would say, "I'm half Mexican, a quarter Irish, a quarter Sicilian," but most of the time she wouldn't get to the other 2/4 before someone would balk, "You're Mexican?" No one ever asked, "Do you speak Spanish?" Or, "Have you ever been to Mexico?" Or even, "My cousin's Mexican," because that's not how race relations were at the time in Lenape, otherwise known as Philadelphia. The kid's appearance always got her called white, and all she knew is that she tanned real good in the summer, and that her one dad always used to say to always be proud of her heritage. He also said, "Don't trust those Puerto Rican boys and watch out for black girls," and that made her confused and mad, because all her friends on the block were black girls and Puerto Rican boys. And though everyone called her a white girl and left her out of things as time went on, the kid knew her Mexican dad was full of it. And she didn't really know what to do as time continued, except play video games on the weekends anymore when her black dad's other kids, her older brothers, would stay over. Together they used to go do family stuff on the weekends, like drive to the plateau for a cookout, go to the waterworks by the art museum where the old men were always fishing, and take the car down Kelly Drive and South Street with the windows rolled down and radio on loud playing R&B and smooth jazz. None of those radio stations exist anymore, though, and the old waterfront is off limits, flooded away a long time ago, right along with Kelly Drive. It's all gone, and nobody who moves here now ever knows or cares what she's talking about. She tells herself to be at peace. The city she loved and knew was just that one she knew. And anyway, as her padre liked to say, it's in the past now. It's sad, though, how people get to forgetting the past. There was a Monday after school when her dad came for his usual visit. They sat on the stoop, and he gave her a sandwich from a Jewish deli and a white blouse with flowers embroidered on it. Many years later, the kid would think back and feel ashamed, but in the moment she was embarrassed because, one, she was a tomboy and the blouse was so girly, and two, because the blouse looked so Mexican and she knew she'd get made fun of it if she wore it outside. The only Mexican stuff she knew about anyway was Speedy Gonzales and Slowpoke Rodriguez on Looney Tunes, and that Disney movie she liked to get from the video store about Donald Duck and his two cousins from Mexico and Brazil, and that one Christmas song. One time, her dad made her call his mother she never met and her half-sister in Mexico City, and the kid didn't speak Spanish then, and her much older sister and grandma didn't speak English, and the whole thing was sad and frustrating, and she still didn't know any other Mexicans than in cartoons, and her school books were full of racist histories, and every year she grew older, she held on saying, "I'm half Mexican." The black and brown and Asian kids and all them took it in stride. The white kids said something insulting because they thought that's just what you're supposed to do. The kid eventually made friends with a half Mexican, half Swedish person in high school. They both seemed to understand the performative novelty of uttering the words and Mexican in the same sentence. It wouldn't occur to the kid until later that her friend has a browner skin tone and Spanish family name, and it meant different things, even though they are both half. "Mom, how come I don't have my dad's last name?" "Because we were never married," Mom offers. "It would please your father, mija, very much if someday you were able to take his last name," he says to her one afternoon. The kid thinks, "There's enough Ricos, so if I was a Téllez, my mom probably wouldn't mind." Margaret Rico, her live ID blares, "Required, important information about your 2020 census status." These direct announcements have been getting more frequent in time with the tax filing deadline. They're offering a solid $1,000 tax credit this year just for filling out the census, but the whole thing freaks the kid out since what you put down in the census is going to clock you for the next 10 years, or maybe your whole life, people have been speculating. The kid already knows they clock you ever since she got booted from the book for not using her legal name, even though no one there knew her by her legal name. She was going by Téllez all since then too, till the one-to-one happened, and they started withholding her mail and other correspondences for, again, not using her legal name. The kid never managed to change it to Téllez because it costs too much, and you need a lawyer. Now she holds on to it like a dangerous secret. She's surprised public safety doesn't require her to report on it publicly, but the immigration reform policies were swift, and everybody is a happy Hispanic now, getting their majority slice of the dream. Meanwhile, the banks are still giving her mom and dad a hard time keeping their house because of her black dad's improbable character likelihood from being unemployed. And it pisses the kid off that he doesn't qualify for assisted secondary degree training they're offering everybody else, even though he has over 40 years experience as a master tradesman. But that's how it is now, since those young government contracted startup companies wrote old-fashioned labor right out of those likelihood matrices. What the people in power call things ruins lives, she thinks. Some decades ago, when the kid started high school, she was called to the counselor's office one morning, along with all the other kids who checked the Hispanic Latino box, and she felt immediately like a fraud. She couldn't even speak Spanish. Why was she acting like she's Latino needing special guidance? She didn't even hang out with her Puerto Rican friends anymore because they were all boys, and they just started asking to see her titties and legs all the time. And as a result, she rolled with the kids from her Catholic school uptown, who were headbangers, and didn't bother her so hard about sex stuff in her body. But they were all white, and they all said uncomfortable things about black people and everybody else. And actually, her whole life, people said uncomfortable things about black people to her, and even other brown people. And she never knew how to say, "Hey, you know my dad is black," or "My brothers and sister are black," or "My family is black, so please don't say those things to me because they're racist and hurtful and not true." But usually, when she would say something, the people found a reason to still think what they were saying was okay and not racist. At times, the kid wished she looked